Welcome to the another episode of r/Askreddit. What are the quiet luxury brands that only the super rich know about? I work in the luxury travel industry. I know quite a few. Exclusive Resorts is an invite-only membership club for very high-end travel. They don't post their prices online, but I know people that work there. They have personal cell phone numbers for people like Jeff Bezos, Waltons, and people that live at that stratospheric titan of industry level. Their cheapest membership package is $100,000 to join and can run up to $250,000. That's just the price to join the club. You have to pay for any travel you want to book on top of that. They have a $600 million portfolio of properties they own throughout the world that only their members have access to. Want to guarantee availability for a finish line view villa in Monaco during the Grand Prix? Want to get a ski-in cabin next to the Waltons cabin in Aspen over Christmas? Want a luxury penthouse in Paris during Fashion Week? These are your guys. They cap their membership at 3,000 people, so you may have to wait for a long time until you can get in. Another interesting one, White Desert is your tour operator of choice if you want a private expedition with your buddies to the South Pole. Their packages can run $100,000 plus per person for a private jet to their base camp on the Antarctica Plateau, and then another custom-built ski plane transfer to their camp on the South Pole. Duxiana. For people who can buy a mattress that costs as much as a car. I went with my wife mattress shopping. Duxiana has a shop in my town, so we went. They have less expensive beds, but the minute you lay down on their most premium bed, the first thing that came to mind for both of us was, well, I can see why this is worth $10,000. And that was like 10 years ago. I tell you all, this bed was astoundingly comfortable and also modular and could have old bits replaced without buying a full mattress again. So, if you think about it this way, that the bed would last 20 plus years, and with only nominal maintenance, it is kind of a great value, but the upfront costs are high. Also, I read there's a New York City Duxiana store which is actually also a bed and breakfast, where you can stay in a nice room on the nice bed, and decide if you think it's worth the money. I love this idea. Tellers on Savile Row. Wealthy people get their clothes custom made. I remember watching a news video of Prince William talking with locals in a hospital. The conversation turned to how the prince's son, Prince George, was doing. Prince William was talking about how he's growing so fast and they constantly have to get his clothes tailored, as if the local guy is supposed to relate to that lol. Tailored clothes for a 4-year-old at the time. I especially like the idea that he not only has no idea how peasant children work, but he's also quietly assuming something like 2% of the population must work as tailors. I had a rich friend once tell me that Gucci is what poor people think rich people wear. Since then I noticed that all of her clothes fit perfect, but she never has logos on anything. Gucci is what famous people wear when they get paid to wear Gucci. How is it that casually explained put it? I might spend $5,000 and wear Gucci to feel cool, but if I was actually cool, Gucci would pay me to wear it. John Lobb Bootmaker in St. James. Make beautiful handmade shoes for royalty, celebrities and rich types. They are well known, but not a household name. I found a pair of JL riding boots for $300. They retail for $10,000. Was with a friend at an equine consignment shop. Saw these boots on the shelf and the leather looked like good quality, so I touched them. Wow. The quality of the leather is astounding. Pulled them off the shelf and saw the royal warrant. They fit my friend, and she bought them. When we went to pay, the shopkeeper admitted those boots slipped by them. My friend contacted JL, and they told her the custom boots trees had been made for them, but were not with the boots. I believe the custom boot trees were another $3,000. I tell her we have to share custody of them. I used to be of the opinion that really wealthy people wore stuff that you wouldn't really notice, but disappointingly, having spent some time around folks with extreme wealth recently, the true answer is just whatever the hell they like. If someone really liked branded gear before they were wealthy, you'd better believe they are going to be dressed like Ali G once they make it big. I used to work for a dude worth hundreds of millions who wore square toe slip-on dress shoes with rubber soles. Probably got them at JCPenney or Target. He just didn't give a about shoes. I'm still riding the high of the $4.99 rotisserie chicken I bought at Costco, so I think I'm my head out before I get depressed. I'm right there with you. I reheated some frozen green beans and fried up my last egg for dinner. Now I'm scrolling through these comments wondering how the world got to be the way it is. Seems like we oh well. At least I had an egg. Jeff Goldblum was on the Conan podcast and talked about where he got his jeans. It was from this hard to find shop in New York that not many people had heard of. Come to find out, not surprisingly, their jeans are insanely expensive and only the very rich could afford them. Jeff mentioned Shifa's Garment Hotel in LA, and they are about $400 to $600 per pair. I mean, that's about what a lot of the Japanese brands go for. Iron Hearts are like $450. Jeff also wears Jack Merrimage glasses and the frames on those are start at $800 and go up from there. Dude is a well cultivated man. He always looks fantastic. Buy a copy of the Rob Report magazine at a bookstore and marvel at the insane ads in the back for private jets, yacht brokers, military level trained personal protection Belgian Malinois Guardian dogs, personal protection security firms staffed by former US Secret Service and retired tier 1 operators only in their early 40s and fit with 20 years experience. And even crazier stuff. PFFT buying a $400 pair of jeans is pedestrian when you have Taylor Swift money and roll in 2 fully armored Escalades and are escorted on errands by a phalanx of guys in black polo shirts and jeans who have been places and done things in sandy countries that are still classified. I know one of the Rob Report's old writers. Dude waited tables at the Olive Garden on the weekends to make extra money. One day we were chatting about how much he made writing for the Rob Report, and I was blown away how little he was paid. I had a roommate who wrote for the Weekly World News, the Bat Boy tabloid you used to see in supermarkets, and that dude made more than the Rob Report writer. Nice try. Pause. It's so cute. They're acting just like people. Animals. They are one of the best super yacht manufacturers in the world with over 100 years of experience. As someone who works there, thank you for naming us. I'm sure your business will now skyrocket. Almost all of the well-known luxury brands have several lines. The ones with logos all over them are typically the cheapest. I'm looking at LV, Gucci, etc., which is why they are so common. The same companies will have more exclusive lines that are much more expensive, usually more classic in style, and they are not covered in logos, so you'd never know what brand they are, unless you're really into that kind of thing. For example, my wife wanted to buy me a nice wallet, so we went to the LV shop. I liked one that had no logo on the exterior of it, just simple grey leather, and it cost twice as much as the ones with LV stamped all over them. It's like choosing the ad-free versus ad-supported version of luxury items. To quote my dad, if you wear branded clothing, you're putting in work as an advertisement. And we don't work for free. Holland & Holland, 1k for a hat, 10k smoking jacket and 500k for a shotgun, though the carve your dogs and manor in the side of it. I wonder how it feels to miss the target with a $500,000 shotgun. Not as bad as when your friend bags it with his matching $500,000 shotgun you loaned him because they came as a sporting pair. Fret for bedding and towels. All the wealthy folks I know fall into one of two categories. They either jaff about bedsheets and therefore buy whatever their decorator suggested or whatever is easiest to get delivered in the right color, or whatever is on the sale rack, or they give many and buy something very specific. Vintage linens. One particular small producer that does all their production in-house. Custom sizes to fit antique beds, etc. I feel like Fret falls right in the middle of those two options, so it's mostly seen in hotels and as aspirational buys. How would poor schleps on Reddit know of super rich brands? Because we mop the floors where these things are made. Breaks over. Back to mopping. I don't know if this is quiet or I'm just extra poor, but low is apparently a thing. I saw an ad that they'd be doing a special launch with Howell's moving castle inspired fashions, so I signed up for alerts, thinking I'd buy something when it was released. Shocked to receive a notification for like $11k jackets. I go to Lowe's all the time. Great garden supplies. Good cashmere. Can't state a specific brand, but good cashmere is something that is a pretty penny that is 100% worth it. I've been buying merino recently because I think I'm rich or something. But if you want premium wool, alpaca wool and yak wool are pricier or better. If you really want the most exclusive wool, you're into Vicuna, which costs $300 per ounce of yarn. It's like 20x more expensive than cashmere. A Vicuna suit costs up to $30,000. Target. Picking up from Jane Claude Penny. Alas, here's $0. I'm not super rich, but very wealthy by almost any standard, and get a taste of this through neighbors and friends who have $100 million net worths and access to whatever they want. You're asking the wrong question. There aren't secret brands out there. You get things custom or bespoke made how you want them. No brand, one of a kind, is the pinnacle. What's more exclusive and special than I'm the only one who has this? Men's clothing is where I have the most hands experience. You find a world-class tailor, New York City, London, Italy, and pick your fabric, your fit, your custom touches, floral liner, an extra pocket here, your initials embroider in a hidden spot, and they make a bespoke suit and all your dress shirts. Shoes, same thing. You pick your leather, color, style, and customization. It fits you, and you alone perfectly. They'll make a matching belt for $500. Interior design. You hire somebody to scour their extended network to find the artisan in Morocco that's hand making green glazed tiles that perfectly match the wallpaper you love for the bathroom reno, and you'll happily pay $30 per tile because there's a unique story and you can't just order it from a brand. Ask me how I know this one. Google Tamagrout pottery. As far as big stuff like cars, gadgets, etc., they aren't secrets. We all know the Italian and German car makers. It's not exactly quiet, but the richest guys I know drive things like SLs and 911s, not Ferraris and Lambos. They are seen as gaudy where I am. Now Vorish. Loro Piana is an example, but I was wondering, what other brands like this are out there? I mean, their cable knit dress is only like $11k. What's so rich about that? Doesn't everybody pay that for a sweater dress? Here's $20. Go see a Star War. Gildan t-shirts for sure. Heavyweights from the shelf at Michael's. Years ago you could have made this joke with Champion sweatshirts, but I guess now they're premium. I have a close relative that isn't a billionaire, but close. He wears custom Levis and custom made red t-shirts. He usually switches shirt colors every year or so to match his newest or favorite car. Red matches his new Corvette. I just did that, but it's a Subaru lol. You bought a Subaru to match your Corvette. An Italian friend arranged a visit to a Murano glass gallery. After the general public cleared out of the public showroom, the gallery's people took us up some stairs to the real deal gallery with shelves full of breathtaking art pieces. We admired one vase on a shelf, but were told that it would never be offered for sale. It was too important as part of the island's legacy and heritage. I think that the way we zeroed in on it somehow convinced them that we were top art dealers in stealth mode. For the rest of the afternoon, we were treated like VIPs. What a day that was. I have almost never felt jealous of anyone, ever, until this moment. My heart flares with longing to see this exceptional glass, and anxious sorrow at the thought that, if I were present, I would not have been included in that section of the tour. I hope you enjoyed every piece. When I met my wife, she worked selling high-end watches. Talking about it on our first date, I said, "Oh, like Rolex and stuff?" She said, "Rolex customers are just new money, drug dealers and old men. If people contact us wanting one, we just direct them to a watch shop." Then rattled off a list of about 10 makers I'd never heard of, which her international clients would fly here just to try on. I was wearing a Luminarx at the time, which I thought was pretty, but all of a sudden I felt like a kid running around with that gadget from Ben 10. A Langenzoner, Vacheron Constantin, a P. Patek Philippe, JLC, Frank Mueller, IWC, Breguet, FP Journe. Bookmarking for when I'm super rich. Same. I just watched The Secret, so I'm pretty much already there. Used to live in Irvine, which is next door to Newport Beach, one of the wealthiest zip codes in SoCal. The thrift shops and storage auctions had some really high-end stuff. Bought a storage unit for $120 once, and it had a ton of Tom Ford, Brunello Cucinelli, The Row. Sold them online for nearly $20k total, keeping a few Tom Ford shirts and a Bryony suit that I got tailored. Wow, you scored big time. When I graduated from college, University of Illinois, My father and I drove to Chicago and got a couple of rooms at the Drake, and my father took me to what was Bixby and Crothers. Went belly up in 2000. We walking in 10 to 15 minutes before our appointment. They knew my father by name. They said I must be the son they have heard so much about. While I was getting measured, an older gentleman walked in and was greeted with "Hello, Judge." He was an Illinois Supreme Court justice. There were a few more really rich looking men in there. My father is Iranian, but that is an entirely different story. It was crazy. All of the different fabric samples, shirts, the cut, the collar, the tie, buttons, socks suspended, and yes, shoes. They did offer cut links, but that was passed on. Also a story for another time. My father and our tailor had an opinion on everything. Keep in mind I was 21, had long metalhead hair. It was the late 80s, pulled back in a ponytail. I felt so out of place. When it was all over, my father spent 3 times as much as I did when I bought a used car. I wore that suit maybe a dozen times. It is absolutely excessive, but it was an experience I will never forget. Sipping 20-year-old scotch with my dad and a Supreme Court justice, basically he and I without pants on, had a little caviar. Like this was a normal thing everyone does. It is absolutely not. Yes, I was privileged and lucky, but that has not been repeated. Muga too. So hot right now. The piano key necktie. I invented that. Grey puffin. But of course. Pardon, do you have any grey puffin? Zinner, their jackets go for 10k to 30k USD and have no visible logo. All of their items are extremely expensive, but rarely do they show their logos. They only do it discreetly on their cheaper items, I believe. I have a leather jacket from them my grandfather bought 40 years ago, and it is the best leather jacket I've ever seen. I got 2 Zenner suit jackets at a thrift store for $70. Total, knowing at 22 that it was a deal. Wore those things for 15 years, getting compliments every single time. Love Zenner. The store in London Simon Cowell goes to once a year to buy 100 sweaters. Where does he go for his facelifts? Because I wanna make sure to never go there. I had a boss who flew in a jeweler from New York so his wife and daughter could shop. Same guy who said he couldn't afford to give us woefully underpaid staff raises and call everyone out to see the new top of the line BMW he just bought. They aren't rich in spite of exploration of the poor. They are rich because of exploitation. Keep your mouth open for that eventual trickle down wealth. Everything they wear on Succession. I love one of the early scenes where he tells the new kid to go grab a pair of Crockett and Jones Cato Oxfords. They are not stupendously expensive, but they are one of the best English brands for traditional ready-to-wear shoes. They'll run $700 to $1,200 depending on leather type and a few other details. I was a HS student studying kendo in Japan in the early 2000s. Anyways, at the end my instructor gifted my annoying teenage self the watch he wore when out of class. It was a simple watch with a leather strap, onyx face, and fluid Swiss movement. Wore it to school when I was back home, and a teacher stopped to chat. I brought up the watch and his eyes went wide. He simply said, "You have a real heirloom there. Keep it clean." It was an IWC. Edit. Until then I thought Rolex was the most expensive brand of watch. A. Lange & Söhne watches. FP. Journe watches are on another level of luxury and exclusivity. If you ever see one you can be sure someone is doing extreme well in life. The Chronometer Blue is my absolute non-Trinity Grail watch. Some people will look at it and have no idea it's worth more than your car. La Cornu and Aga high-end ranges, rotisseries, and other kitchen items. Aga has been well known in the UK for decades. Personally I can't see the appeal of them unless you live in the country, don't have mains gas, so use heating oil, and want your stove on all of the time, as it doubles up as your heating boiler. In the US, they are more of a statement piece, not a brand found in any regular appliance store. While they are used as boilers in the UK, here in the US they are primarily just high-end ranges, like $40,000 a piece high-end. Google luxury pyramid. Quiet luxury brands are all about the materials used. You peasants might think cashmere is the ultimate. Guess you've never even touched Vigana. Hey, I've touched Vigana. I'm still a total peasant though. Found the 12-year-old making the sweaters. The row. It's the Olsen's fashion line and everything is unobtainable to the average person. Average price of stuff seems to be $2,000 to $3,000 for like a sweater and other items including jackets, dresses, pants are $9,000 and up. I just can't even wrap my mind around being able to drop that kind of cash on a single item of clothing that's not a wedding dress. And I actually only spent $150 on my wedding dress anyway. I'm pretty sure they used to have a line of little girls' clothes at Walmart when I was a kid. Big step up for them. Goyard luggage. Goyard used to be one of those things for the people that wanted something that sort of scratched that Louis Vuitton itch, but hadn't been fully co-opted by the nouveau-ish, and I never used to see it around, but it's become a lot more common these days. Newsflash, once a trend trickles ditch to the masses, the rich don't want it anymore. Thank you.